Hey there, I'm Lily O'Reilly. This is Lily O'Reilly Reviews, and today we're going to talk about simultaneous orgasms. So let's get to it, huh? Okay, so I was recently commissioned via Ko-Fi to speak about the concept of simultaneous orgasms in media, how realistic they are as a sexual goal for couples, and how to potentially attain them if it's something you are looking for. So, with that in mind, I actually had to do a lot of looking into sex scenes in movies because it's not something that I don't watch a lot of romance, and I honestly don't consume a lot of media with sex scenes in them. But when I started looking into movies, so many of them have such unrealistic sex. And I get it, it's part of the cinema of it that you start making out, somebody gets picked up and put against the wall, and then like the shirt slides off the shoulder, and then they're in bed. And then they're both orgasming. And then they like wake up the next day or fade to black or whatever. Even in movies where you get more explicit, like where the female actress typically is topless, even those have a glossing over of sex. And I mean, this is prevalent even within porn. Most depictions of sex very much gloss over things like the need for foreplay and lubrication. They gloss over the clumsiness of somebody tripping on their underwear, and they don't have condoms, they don't have cleanup. Like, almost no sexual media includes someone having to hop up and go pee afterwards so they don't get a UTI, you know? So, basing our own sexual ideals, our preferences, our goals on movies, pornographic movies, or Hollywood movies is quite frankly unrealistic. And I feel like the concept of simultaneous orgasms are particularly potentially damaging for relationships. And I'm going to be speaking primarily with a cis-het focus because that was what was kind of requested in the prompt. But a lot of these issues can be applied to queer relationships as well. So there are issues within the concept of simultaneous orgasms because whenever you go into sex with a very specific structure and goal in mind, it inherently puts a lot of pressure on attaining that one particular thing, be it squirting, as we've spoken about in the squirting video, or orgasming at all, or simultaneous orgasming, which is a whole nother level of like, not only must you must come in a synchronized fashion. And that can often be detrimental to other parts of the sexual process. It can take some of the joy out of sex if you feel like, or your partner feels like, we have to do this, we have to be completely in sync, we have to hit it at the same time. It can be very difficult to have an authentic sexual experience under those constraints. Specifically, it can quite frequently cause one partner to feel the need to fake it or to lie about their orgasm, either timing or if they've come at all, or if it is enjoyable for them, because they don't want to let the partner down that wants it to be simultaneous. And they don't want to admit that maybe they can't hit that timing, or maybe it's not that precise of an act for them. Additionally, simultaneous orgasm, specifically through penetration, can be physically difficult for people with smaller clitorises because if you're not using toys during penetrative sex and you are a person with a clit who needs that clit to be stimulated in order to get off, and perhaps your partner isn't able to, get there with their hand in some of the positions that you're using, then you're gonna have trouble getting there. There are positions that can be more helpful, which I'll touch on a little later on, but overall, if you don't have a large clit, if you primarily require external stimulation to orgasm, achieving simultaneous orgasm via penetration is going to be a struggle. And not to mention, this just puts servings and servings of performance anxiety and pressure onto an act that can already be high pressure and stressful for a lot of people. And I mean, not everybody goes into sex with the understanding and the expectation that it's going to be messy and goofy and you should be able to laugh about it, and it can be a ridiculous act. Some people go into it thinking that, all right, if we cannot achieve a soul-gazing, deep touch experience that is a simultaneous orgasm, then we are failing as a couple and we will get a bad grade at sex. That's so much rough energy to bring into an exchange that can already be fraught with insecurities and performance issues, etc. If you do find that this is a thing that you want to do with your partner, or your partner wants you to do, I would encourage you, just like I would in all of my Let's Talk About videos, to sit down and have a conversation and a discussion as to why. Is it something that like they saw in a movie and they thought it'd be cool? Is it, hey, I think this would be an interesting experience that would bring us closer together? I think this would be a fun goal to have. Or is it, if we cannot come together, then we are not meant to be together in life? Or the only true sex is sex wherein it is penetrative and we both orgasm, and then like we hear a faint choir of angels and we have to have a specific soundtrack. Like, why are they doing it? Are they doing it for reasons that you're okay with? And it's perfectly okay to be like, I understand that you want this, but that's not something that I'm into. And I'm sorry that I don't want to do that for you. It's also totally fine to be like, all right, I'm down to try, but if we fail, this does not get to be an ego thing. This gets to just be, well, we tried that and it didn't work. Okay, maybe we'll try again in 3 months when we've forgotten how awkward it was. Now, the main thing that is incredibly important if you do decide to go for simultaneous orgasms is communication. The same way in the consent video, the same way when we talk about squirting, the same way when we talk about BDSM, anything. You have to be able to communicate. And this is most important when you're aiming for simultaneous orgasms, because you need to know what gets you off. You need to be able to communicate what gets you off to your partner, both generally and in that moment. And you need to have a partner who can accept the feedback you're giving them without making an ego thing. They need to understand the feedback you're giving them. And they need to be able to implement the feedback that you're giving them. For instance, because like, you can't just silently go for a simultaneous orgasm. You can, but it's very difficult. It works better if one partner can tell the other, like, hey, I'm getting close, or hey, I'm going to need you to lift my knee. I need you deeper if you want me to get there, or I need a different position because I need more pressure, less pressure, a different angle, whatever. Or, hey, I need you to grab my toy because if I don't have a toy on or in, this isn't going to work. That can be very ego deflating, especially if you're in a relationship where you've mostly gone along based on vibes, which we've all done occasionally. It can be really hard to have a partner be like, okay, I understand that you're doing what's good for you, but I also need, your hand here, your fingers there. I need pressure here. I need a toy. Like, I'm not going to get there without one. A lot of people take that as a, what, you mean I'm not good enough? You can't get there with me? And bodies are just like that sometimes. So I would say that having a partner who can't accept the feedback you're giving regarding, hey, this is what it's going to take to get me there, is maybe not like a big red flag, but it's kind of like a pink flag of, keep an eye on that, because that kind of pattern over time could, not be the best indicator of a good relationship. Also, there are methods you can use to make it more likely that you'll orgasm simultaneously. Now, this is where it gets a little less heteronormative. Now, there are methods you can use to help you get to a simultaneous orgasm. It does not necessarily have to be penis into vagina, thrusting until it's done. We have options. We have evolved opposable thumbs. One of the main ways that it's very easy to achieve a simultaneous orgasm is mutual masturbation. You can each handle yourselves. You can each handle each other. Those are great ways to still have a cohesive sexual experience, but to be able to vary it in a way where, like, if I need it faster than you, you can speed up touching me, or I can speed up touching myself, and you can perhaps slow down on the you touching to give it the ability to achieve at the same time. You can also bring in toys, either during mutual masturbation or during sex. Some of the times when I've actually been able to achieve simultaneous orgasm, it's been via sex with an external vibrator, or sex with something like one of the We-Vibe toys that's meant to be inserted to provide G-spot and clitoral vibration, wearable during penetrative sex. I'll link one. I think I've reviewed one. And then a lot of it also depends on positions. So if you are the person with a clitoris and you need more clitoral stimulation, some very good positions for that are cowgirl, because if you tip your pelvis forward, you can kind of grind your clit on their lower abdominal fupa area. This is especially good with chubby boys. I will not lie. That little bit of tummy, very good. Very good for it. I've also had success with a prone missionary position. This is going to sound very strange, but imagine missionary. Instead of your legs open, legs shut. Their legs are open and the penetrating partner is on top of you, and they're kind of thrusting down and into your thighs. The angle can be a little tricky to get right. You generally need a slightly longer endowed partner or toy, but you get really great grind onto the clitoral shaft on each thrust. There's also the T-pose, not like the T-pose, but one partner is laying down, legs are here. Other partner typically will have one leg out and one leg up and over. And it is, you can either have your back to the person penetrating you, or you can flip over and face them. It's really great for intimacy. Having the leg hitched up and over their hip can help you achieve depth of penetration, and it gives y'all both hands to get down in there or do some touching on either one to help, get things kind of working at the same pace. So, yes, that is the quick and dirty rundown on simultaneous orgasm. Generally speaking, I think they're great. I think they're a lot of fun. I think they're way too much pressure especially because I am a profoundly multi-orgasmic person. I can usually rattle off 5 to 15 before my penetrative partner gets to their one. Especially on occasions where my partner feels like, well, you should have one orgasm and it should happen when I orgasm and then the sex is done. Man, that could be a real issue because, I got about 4 left in the tank minimum. And that can again be an ego thing where the partner's like, but we had our come together moment. What do you mean you're not done yet? So that's another thing that you just kind of have to consider in terms of the communication and figuring out what your goals are. Now, there is an analogy that I use frequently when I talk about this, and it is simultaneous orgasms are like 4-leaf clovers. They're phenomenal when you find one, and they're a beautiful little moment. But if you spend all your time hunting them, you're never going to manage to get anywhere that you need to go. So I think that it's a grand goal for occasionally, or to spice things up, or just as a serendipitous sexual moment. But don't put so much pressure on yourself or your partner to achieve this every time. that you suck the joy out of sex, you know? So, that's all I've got. If you would like to find me, all the places that I exist online, that is find.lilyoreilly.com. I don't really have anything to shill here. Just be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.